It's the duty of a civilized person who's a member of the 5% nation is to teach civilization to what? The uncivilized.
Peace to the God. Peace a lot. Hey, yo, there go that brother Grand Poobah. Heard that brother?
Peace, God. First, you just want to introduce yourself.
Peace. Righteously born understanding Allah. My honorable name, Ron Stuckey. I say honorable in the past, but even in the present. Sometimes I would say my government name. I still use that terminology, but I know to be clear, right, and exact, it's more your honorable name. My honorable name, Ron Stuckey. Righteous name, born understanding. Some people, and include myself, sometimes call it my attribute. Peace.
Peace. All right, did you give yourself the attribute or somebody gave it to you?
I gave myself that attribute when I that wasn't my first attribute, but I did give myself that attribute.
All right, second question. How did you get introduced to Islam?
In my opinion, I got introduced to Islam when I was in the womb. I was born in Harlem, New York, where we lived on 116th Street. I was born in 1969. 1969 on 116th Street, on Lenox Avenue, there was the big mosque, the big temple number 7 was ruled. And my mother, as a pregnant woman, get off the 2 train. We lived on Manhattan Avenue, but the 2 train, it put you off on Lenox Avenue. Boom, you gotta walk by the mosque. During this time, this is the heroin era. She always felt safe walking the blocks of number 7. Always felt safe when she seen brothers with Muhammad speaks. So in my opinion, it was doing something to me in the womb. I remember when I was in junior high school, it was the first time I heard that the black man was God, that I can recall. And it was guards in my junior high school, and they were, they were doing what they do. And but that was the first time I can really, really recall it. And I didn't realize they were making an impact on me, even though some of the things they were saying, some was true, some wasn't true. It was, they were striving. And I didn't realize the impact they were making on me until one day, one of them said, if you get a piece of ham and pour a Pepsi on it, you'll watch it turn into worms. And I really wanted to get off swine probably ever since my junior high school days. I remember that. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness. So I went home and tried it. The shit didn't turn into worms.
Right.
I was disappointed. Right. Born you truth, I still, but my point is, they were making an impact. So, I remember, like I said, that was my first introduction with the black man is God. And I was intrigued.
Right.
I didn't even realize the level of intrigue. But then, as time went on, I had friends of mine that became righteous. That's more the terminology we used to use back then. And I had some friends who became righteous. We cool. I'm still not God body, but I'm, hanging with my friends. We doing what we do. I'm questioning them about what they, advocating. Some answers was thorough. Some answers they, with children, they ain't have the best of answers.
Right.
I was a fairly studious young man, so I thought somewhat mathematical. So when the answers didn't add up, Didn't fight with them over it. I have to say, man, my whole life I kind of was somewhat of live and let live, to each his own, It was good. But anyway, so yeah, I had some friends that was in the nation, and they was, they was righteous. And as time went on, I went into high school, got more friends in the nation. They building. I'm not really won over.
Right.
They ain't win me over, you know. But simultaneously, I guess the mathematical thinking that I had innately in me, I was questioning the religion that I had been taught about. I moved down here my last year of high school, and it's funny, man, because yeah, I got these lessons. I'm calling myself God, and I never told nobody this. I'm gonna say something that I ain't never told anybody. I remember one day we was in school, and you probably remember, you know, Master God. Master God was reading a book, the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I saw him reading that book. And I said, I'm going to read that book. I don't know why, but I remember seeing him. That's the first time I ever seen that book in his hand. I said, damn, I'm going to read that book. When I read the book, it changed my life. It changed my life. Then I started taking the science serious. Changed my life. I was no longer... See, before I was just like, yo, okay, I'm cool with doing this because it came with other perks.
Right.
I read that book and my whole reality changed about it.
Yeah.
All right. Back in the days, we seen it was. I can't remember the exact year, but it was a video by Public Enemy, and you was doing some security in the video. And back then, people was just saying, everybody doing the security is part of the Nation of Islam. Are they security or something for the Nation of Islam? And it was funny because back then, you was the only person that we knew at that time that was in videos, rap videos. You know what I mean? And I ain't know nothing about the Nation of Islam at that time, but that was what interested me. Somebody I knew was in a rap video. So I wanted to find out what was Islam about based on that video, based on seeing you in the video. So I wanted to know, how did you go from the Nation of Gods and Earth to the Nation of Islam?
From the Gods, I did go to the Nation of Islam. When I was in that video, I was FOI. I went to college, right? I'm God body in college. Though I'm God body, but at the same time, I'm distant. When I'm saying distant, like, it's not like I was in Pelon building on the regular. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm swimming with what I got.
Right.
And which was it was significant for me at that moment. And you know, so I'm building with anybody I can build with on righteous tip. As I'm building, I encounter, which wasn't my first encounter with brothers from the Nation of Islam, but this particular encounter, brother was like really sharp, and I learned a lot from him. We formed a bond. I learned a lot from him, and as I was navigating, because I was it's been this a long time ago. I'm talking about 1987, 88. I was I was a different young man then. I was very aggressive about the science back then. Not sure why, but I know I was. You couldn't say peace around me. I mean, if I was at a college party, I heard somebody say peace, I'd be, peace, that's a powerful greeting. What's science behind that? I mean, I was like that, you know. But
Peace.
I was anyway,
What up?
I met this brother, and we was building. We would build like all night long.
Peace.
And he's a minister of the Nation of Islam, though. But we would, like, I could be reading lessons, or I could be reading the message of the black man 1 o'clock in the morning, and be like, yeah, I see something I ain't, I could go to his house and we stay up the rest of the night building on it. You know what I'm saying? So it was like it was a special bond, And
I got you.
I could say, and I'm not, by no means am I saying this to disparage the nation, pardon me, the Nation of Islam, but it was almost like that romanced me into the Nation of Islam.
Right.
I never seen this brother off his post. I never seen this brother doing anything that wasn't right and exact. I mean, he was a very, very, he was an example of a true and living God in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? For real, for real. And so over time, and because meanwhile, I'm not really building with no gods.
Right.
Very few, at least. And I ain't gonna say no, but very few. That's my connection with knowledge itself.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was not like a pull from both sides. The only pull was the pull I was bringing.
Right.
Because I remember times like I would go to study groups with them, and we would be in the study group. It might be 8, 9 people in the study group. We dealing with whatever situation or whatever, and it might be it's me, it's him, and it's like maybe a couple Muslims, a couple Christians, and while he's like managing the study group and we dealing with subjects, I was and he told me this before, I was the angel on his shoulder, making sure he kept God real.
Right.
Because anytime we would go on something and he'd be like, well, when God did this and that, I would always be the one to go, what God?
Right.
What God? You know what I mean? But he was able to satisfy me as someone who does, and we did Public Enemy Security, we did that video, and that's how that came about. So I was actually a member of the FOI when that video was shot. We was in, we was in. That's what I was, that wasn't the only security thing we did, but that was the one that was documented that my face was prevalent on. And it's, he wasn't playing the role of bow tie wearing Muslims. We were that.
Right. All right. Back to the math. You said something about math earlier today. For those who don't know, when you said your partner Andre gave you math, what you mean by math?
What I mean by math, I'm talking about the supreme mathematics that Allah born out. The supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabets. It's unique to the 5% nation, but it's not unique. There are principles that have been brought out in a way where we line them with the numbers, and that's the supreme mathematics. It's a whole lot more to that, but that was the origin of it. Right. First you got to get it and learn it, and then you build on it, expound on it, and you get past that. But that was my introduction. When you come into the Nation of Gods and the Earth, 5% Nation, that's one of the first degrees you get mathematics.
All right, one of the biggest misconceptions about the Nation of Gods and Earth and the Nation of Islam is that one teach something opposite of what the other ones teach. I would like to know what is the commonalities of the two nations and what's the differences of the two nations.
Man, that's a big question. Because the truth of the matter is neither one of these nations are monolithic. Meaning, there are people in the Nation of Islam that don't speak with the exact same voice. There are people in the Nation of God's Earth that don't speak with the exact same voice. So in other words, I can say it. I can say, boom, this is what the gods on earth teach, and there'll be somebody come right behind me and tell you, well, I ain't what I teach. And he ain't lying. That ain't what he teach. You know what I'm saying? There's ministers in the Nation of Islam that say one thing. Now they supposed to have a more, I say supposed to have a more centralized teaching, because they got, pardon me, a centralized teacher. The Nation of Islam is a nation that holds true to a certain tradition, and they have a religious, they look at Islam through religious lenses.
Right.
They, you know what I mean? They got a prayer ritual. They have, they actually uphold the tenets of Islam from the religious aspect. Nation of Gods and Earth represent Islam from purely scientific point of view. And sometimes we call it cultural, but cultural just meaning your way of life, but solely based on science, not based on cultural rituals. So sometimes those two clash. Sometimes they clash. See, with the Nation of Gods and Earth, you learn your information, you study, and then you be real with how you see it. Nation of Islam, you learn your information, you study, and then you hear and obey. You're a soldier, you know what I'm saying? See, it's different. Like when, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying one is wrong.
Right.
But one thing I know, you can't run a military questioning everything the commander say. That ain't gonna happen. You can, but it'll be a failed military operation. You can't do that. To move militarily, you gotta hear and obey. You can't be, why go north? I think it better go south. Motherfucker, because the captain said go north. That's why. You just do. God enough, we not cohesive like that. We serve a different purpose. So when persons say, yo, go north for what? Break that down for me. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not a military.
Right.
That's not a military. It's serving another purpose. You know what I'm saying? It's like scholars. You can't expect a military soldier to move the same way a poet moves, or a scholar of some sort. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna move differently because they serve different purposes.
Right.
Now, granted, people on both sides always point the finger and say, that's why that one's fucked up. That's why that one's fucked up. I'm just one to say we need them all. We need it all. And I know, the way I see it, we gonna fail without them all. We need that military who gonna just shut up and do what he told when it's time to do what he told. But then again, we ain't gonna grow unless we got some people who gonna be like, yeah, but why? But what about this? But what, you know what I'm saying? We need it all. We just don't need it all doing. We don't need one person doing it all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The white man is successful because he understands that.
All right, well, we know the differences between the Nation of Gods and Earth and the Nation of Islam. But another misconception. Islam is Islam when I hear Islam. But you got the Islam from the people of the Middle East, which we call the Arabs, and you got what they call Black Islam from black people in America. What is that all about?
We can go. Islam is Islam, but it's depending on how you understand it. Islam, if you just translate the word, I say we told because I don't know. I've been told by sources I believe, but I don't know. The original language that was spoken and written first was Arabic. And Islam is an Arabic term. we use it because it's one of the original languages. Islam means it's not so simple that it only has one definition though. Islam is complete submission. It's also peace. Now, people can say, I am in peace or in submission with the will of the original maker, and do all kind of bullshit. So in other words, I can say, yo, this my Islam, and I'm fucking children. You can call it what you want. You know what I'm saying? Some people call it, you know what I mean? And that's the thing when we talk about the Middle East. I ain't trying to shit on them, but at the same time, just because they call it Islam don't make it right and exact.
Right, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? They use terms like for instance, if we keep it a buck, Allah is an Arabic term. If you go to Egypt or Iraq or any place in the Middle East where they speak Arabic, and you go to a Christian church in Egypt or Iraq or any of these places that actually have Christian churches in the Middle East, they call their God Allah. Yet they're Christians.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're using the language that they have. Just like you have people in this country that go to all, which we know is, I don't know, countless amounts of churches. They all say God. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So the term is misleading. That's my point. Me personally, most of if I keep it a buck, if you ain't saying man is God, it's Christianity. I don't care if we in Saudi Arabia and they teaching about a mystery God, which they do, it ain't right and exact. If you in Mecca and they teach, I don't care where you at, it ain't right and exact. And you can't shield the truth with these special claims. That's how I see it. People use these terms, they shield it. See, if we was get real historical and we talk about how Islam came to North America, to black people here in North America, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad used it as a tool to get to his people. When he first opened up temples, like I say, he called them temples. Back in the days, they used to say temples is a place to teach, and a mosque is a place to pray. You know what I mean? That's what they used to say years ago. He started off opening up temples.
Just come on, we'll go from there.
Yes, he did bring people into somewhat more of the Islamic religion. I tend to believe it was to strike a relationship with them people with all that oil money. Not so much that they got the truth. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad ain't never... His Islam and their Islam ain't the same. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I ain't even talking about the culture of gods and earths what we show forth and prove. But even his and theirs ain't the same.
Okay. So let me ask another question. What are we saying in our culture when we say the black man is God? What does that say for the mystery God believer in heaven and hell? What is that saying about the said heaven and hell if we saying man is God?
Well, I'm not going to say what we saying. I'm going to say what I'm saying.
Why?
When it comes to heaven and hell is an existence. It's a condition of life. That's how I see it. Heaven, hell, if it's what you're going through during this life. If you are if you tormented, if you live in a very, very tormented, unhappy existence, you in hell. If you live in a blissful, very, very life, you in heaven. And that don't mean it's absolute. You have moments of heaven and you have moments of hell. You know what I'm saying? If you are, if you live in New York and you ain't got no winter coat, when winter come, you gonna be cold as hell. I don't give a fuck what they say about hell is hot. No, your hell is cold. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it. If you broke and you don't have a way to nourish yourself or a way to just make yourself comfortable, you broke as hell. You are in a hellish condition. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? When you get these moments of bliss, when you have a beautiful baby born, that moment, you in a heaven-like state. When things is going proper and right and and your condition is good, that's your heaven. You know what I'm saying? That's your heaven. I remember a man taught me one day, and this is how I learned. This is why I say these motherfuckers who be talking this flat earth shit, I don't even know what they on. Cause if the earth is flat, we don't know nothing no more. Cause so much of our life is based on our understanding of the globe. But anyway, brother showed me one time, he said, you gotta use your imagination. Like this, that might be too big. Let's imagine this was the globe. You know how the globe is an oval shape. And you got a man standing right here in Bishopville. Then you got a man standing right here in China. You know, we always been taught China on the other side of the world.
Right.
So if you here in Bishopville and he here in China, like a globe, let's say round, we here in Bishopville, he there in China. So if he point up, he pointing that way.
Right.
If you point up here, you pointing that way. So my point is, or even fuck if it's China, let's say at 12 noon, right where we sit. At 12 noon we here. At 12 midnight we there. If you point up at noon, you pointing this way. If you point up at midnight, you pointing that way. My point is, if you say God is up there, you pointing in two opposing directions.
Each time.
12 hours later. What's up at 12 noon is down at 12 midnight. Because the earth is spinning.
Yeah.
Which direction was right?
Neither one.
Yo, they got guys who got a clothing line out where they have the continent of Africa upside down. It's one of their things. I didn't know, but they are original people in certain parts of the planet that's how I say upside down. Because under our European education, we've been taught that Africa is in that direction.
Right.
But what if you look at it from another direction?
It's the opposite. Right.
Who's to say which one is right?
That's a good question.
We accept it. We look at in other words, we look at, when I say we, I don't mean everybody, but most of us who've been the victim of a European education system, we've been taught that north is up and south is down. Says who? What if what if in China they taught to look at the same way the globe is set? Would the globe be any less accurate? My point is, if the stand was on the other side.
Nope.
I mean, we would be looking at those continents and land masses and water masses from a different angle, but would it be any less accurate? We would just be seeing it from a different direction. Now, somebody told us that other way was upright. It ain't upright. It's what we used to.
Right.
And that's, I don't know why I got onto that, but it's real. It's not, we would not be, if they unhooked that globe, turned it over, and then hooked it up again, and everything in Florida looked like a different position. Florida looked like it was there instead of here. It would still be proper. It would just be, instead of looking at it like this, we'd be looking at it like that. Which, not actually, it would be that we're looking at it like that. It's just we seeing it from a different angle. And somebody convinced us that this popular angle is absolutely true.
With all the definitions from coaches around the world about the word God, what is your definition to the word God? And why do you say God is a man?
And mine fluctuates, I'm going to be honest. But ultimately, when I say God, I mean in force and power. Force and power. And when I say God is a man, it's because there's nothing has more force and power over my life, my existence, than myself. Then and even when I go past that, then the everything outside of that is still another man. And now I can, don't get me wrong, I go into it a little more deeper at times. I think even in the mind of man is so powerful. We have brought forth so much. The mind of man have brought forth more, and I ain't even talking about the stuff that we attribute to the mind of man that we can't substantiate. I'm talking about the stuff that we see, and there ain't even no question in nobody's mind what the mind of man has done. It's so powerful that we have yet to see anything to compete with that. And not to mention what we attribute that we can't show forth and prove. I mean, we say we can, but like the fact that we know the man created the sun. We can't. You know what I'm saying? Pump your brakes when you act like you can prove it.
Right.
But the stuff that there ain't no argument about. I don't know what we can compete with that with. I mean, the mind of man has caused more happiness and sorrow than anything else on the planet Earth that I've ever seen. So if you can control the planet's happiness and the planet's sorrow, I don't ain't too much in between that. I don't know what's left. Like a man used to say, when we talked about devil, man used to say, yo, if the white man ain't the devil, what is it left for the devil to do that he ain't already done? I say the same thing about God. If man ain't God, what is it left for him to do? That's my thing.